slides. And then hide all the floating elements. Okay, so it's actually a great time for CCS yet again in Europe. As Siri introduced me, I had an adventure already with CCS in 2007, 8, and until 2012, where we focused on power generation. But this time round, it's a totally different focus. It's the same technology, but totally different focus. And the technology was dormant for a long time after we failed to deliver the 12 large-scale demonstration projects in 2012. But when the Commission prepared a new modeling, it's not so new anymore, but in 2018 was new, and it turned out that you will need a lot of CCS actually to realize your climate and energy objectives for 2050. And here you see on this slide a number of scenarios that our model has run, and the scenarios that we acknowledge as most plausible because they do not, for example, include lifestyle changes like stopping eat meat and some such. They include a lot of CCS, and even up to 600 million tons of CO2 captured in 2050. That's really a lot for Europe, and half of that, more or less 300 million tons, will probably need to be stored permanently underground in 2050. And there are two interesting things I would like to point out at this stage. First, that the focus of CCS today is totally different than it was back in 2007. So it's not power plants, it's not coal-fired power plants that we'll be capturing from. It's hard to abate sectors. So cement, steel, these sectors do not have or have but very limited choice of decarbonization technologies. So they need to store their emissions. And there's also carbon removals, which is rising to the top of climate agenda of the Commission. We know that to net off certain emissions, we need to remove CO2 from the atmosphere, and for this, CCS will be also key. What is the second interesting thing I would like to mention is that in this modeling, the amount of captured CO2 for 2030 was 0. So you see how much we need to ramp up to 2050, and also how fast the situation is changing even from 2018. Because fast forward to 2023, and the Commission proposed an obligatory target to have 50 million tons of CO2 storage capacity by 2030. So 5 years ago, we thought there'll be 0 of captured CO2. This time around, we think that we'll need at least 50 million tons of storage capacity in the same year. So really, the situation has changed, and CCS is needed even faster than we thought. That's why we are working on a strategy. It's called Industrial Carbon Management Strategy for the EU, and it will have 3 pillars. One will be CCS, so carbon capture and storage, storage in geological formation, your strong point. CCU, which is for us in the Commission an alternative way to storing CO2 underground, so storing carbon in products. Also sort of permanently from the climate perspective, we are less keen to actually capture and use in short-term products, because this has limited sense in terms of climate protection. And of course, the third pillar is industrial carbon removal. So capturing CO2 either from the air or from CO2 from of non-fossil origin and putting it permanently underground. So these three pillars will be put in the strategy and described how to optimize their potential, how to speed up their deployment. There are a number of elements driving the strategy. There's existing legal framework and projects the Commission is already supporting. We either run or have been running studies, mostly on CO2 transport and storage infrastructure, how it could develop in the future. We also have public consultation running using two different streams. One is a dedicated public consultation for the strategy. We will wrap this up on Friday. Actually, we have an online event summing up what the stakeholders had to say on a long list of questions that we've published. And there's a CCUS forum, which is a stakeholder consultation platform. This is a constant feature that we discuss with everyone who wants to join the forum, the key issues on CCS, CCU, and carbon removals. And we have now, I already mentioned this proposal of Net Zero Industry Act, where the 50 million tons target was tabled. Briefly on each point, legislation in place, the main directive, the main piece of legislation which is interesting for you is the CCS directive. It's been in place for a long time already, but now with the new wave of projects, we need to look at it and see if it's still fit for purpose. At this stage, we are revamping the guidelines for the directive. EU ETS is providing a carbon price and also includes the biggest pot of money for us in the Commission to give to large-scale projects, the so-called innovation fund. This is where we actually pay projects to deploy faster than they would. We also have Trans-European Energy Networks, and this is a dedicated support measure for transport and storage infrastructure. And we have a number of projects already in the pipeline, so to speak. At this stage, we have 11 projects, capture projects that already signed agreements with the Commission to get the money. These are all large-scale projects. They are represented here on this slide as yellow stars. So you see there's a quite diversified portfolio geographically, and in terms of technologies as well. These plants vary from cement plants through blue hydrogen. Two of them even include CCU. So this is a very diverse portfolio of technologies. The red things on this map are the Trans-European Energy Networks project. So CO2 hubs, transport hubs. These are needed actually to organize transport to storage places around Europe. There's also 12 further projects that the Commission is negotiating. These will add further depth to the technologies we want to test, and also another dimension of geographical spread. And as we have 6 Trans-European Energy Networks projects, we are on the last stretch to get the new list of projects, and there are 18 candidates. So you see how fast the field is growing, and how the maturity of projects is improving across Europe. Just to tell you what would be the total amount of CO2 storage space needed to factor all these projects, so not just 11, but the 11 plus 12 new ones. That would make the demand for storage space amount to approximately 12 million tons of CO2 per year. So this is just the capacity needed from the projects the Commission is supporting, and there are many more than what we are doing. The cross-border transport setup. This is the studies that we've been doing. One is on the optimal outline of how to connect storage sites to capturing facilities, and this we almost concluded the study. We will be unveiling it in November. The interesting part for you is that our modelers at the Joint Research Center have struggled with the available storage data in the public domain. This is something that is really hurting this particular study, but also we feel the whole exercise of deployment of storage facilities would really benefit from more storage data, from better storage data. And I think when deploying the strategy, we will probably propose some actions, maybe around building a European storage atlas, but that we'll see. Second study looks at CO2 transport regulation, because we want to have a single market on services of storing CO2 and transporting CO2. So this study actually is already published. The link is on that slide. This is where we thinking of going when potentially regulating CO2 transport and storage facilities. Stakeholder dialogue, as I said, two streams. One is the dedicated open public consultation that we will wrap up this Friday. There's more info on our website, but if you want, I can send to the organizers registration form, so you can still participate online. And also the CCUS forum, where 5 working groups that focus on different key issues on the technology have been working and issued 5 papers that have been published also on our website. One, for example, is about the CO2 stream, the composition of the CO2 stream, something that is key for deploying EU-wide transport and storage infrastructure. Possible elements of the strategy, I thought that I would narrow them down to things that might be of interest to you. So, of course, I already mentioned it indirectly. We want to see what kind of issues should be regulated in terms of network, transport network, and storage facilities. Common CO2 stream standards, because we know that there's a diverging views on what CO2 stream should contain. Different requirements from storage sites might not be necessarily good for capturing installations, because they would need to maybe sometimes clean the CO2 captured even more than they would like to. So we need to provide a common platform, common standards to make the single market happen. Market setup, so business models, and maybe tarification, etc. I think what is important to see that the 50 million targets that I mentioned initially, this is something to build upon, and we will look into in the strategy how to make sure that this goes forward to 2050. So maybe there'll be some milestones. Maybe we'll think of proposing new targets. This is still up to decision. And another 4 elements: how to speed up storage development. I mentioned already how problematic that field really is today for projects. It's not just the lack of data, but also the length of permitting procedures, the lack of cohesion among member states, where CCS has its place in terms of decarbonization strategy. So that will be factored in our strategy. role of industry in CCS and CCU deployment, how close we should cooperate with member states and the industry. There are European initiatives like the Battery Alliance or Hydrogen Alliance, where we could take some lessons from that to speed up deployment of the technology. There's also research needs that we need to reevaluate, and international cooperation on carbon management value chain, including CCS. So this is also something that we would like to include in the strategy. Next milestones, public consultation already mentioned, will wrap up on 6th of October, this Friday. CCUS Forum plenary session, place to be for CCS, CCU, and also carbon removals. This year we're meeting in Aalborg in Denmark on 27, 28 November. Net Zero Industry Act, the 50 million ton storage objective, is being discussed as we speak, and we hope that the new registration could be decided in the first quarter of next year. And the strategy will be published either before the forum, the CCUS forum in November, or maybe it will slip to next year. We don't know yet, depends on internal goings on in the Commission. So just this is it from me. I just wanted to paint a picture of what we're doing and how important your work really is, and let's hope we can improve the storage bit of the value chain. Thanks.